Get ready for the next battle.
Hadouken! What the hell?
Flawless victory.
Alright, so we're talking Tekken today and why I'm very mixed on this series. Not necessarily saying there's a lot more bad than good or good than bad or anything. I'm kind of like in the middle, where I really enjoyed this series, but there are a couple things where I'm like, eh. One good thing, though, is the competition of it. I love how competitive Tekken is. It's where you go into a match, you know it's not going to be a throwaway match. You're going to be fighting tooth and nail for that win, and so is your opponent. It's very rewarding and punishing to play, where your opponent can launch you in the air, you're going to lose half your health bar, whether you like it or not. There's nothing you can do about it. But when you're delivering those blows, it is one of the most satisfying feelings in the world to get that win. Which gives me the drive to keep fighting and ranking up in these games. The complexity of these games is definitely something I respect. I don't necessarily love it all the time, but I do respect it because it does give players the opportunity to keep learning, to keep improving. Like, with over 150 moves per character, you're never done learning or perfecting that character. There's always something to work on and improve in your craft when playing Tekken. It also complements the different fighting styles that each character has, which is very impressive considering, for example, Tekken 8 started off with a roster of, 32 characters? And each of those characters are unique. There's no two characters that are the same, except kind of Heihachi and Kazuya, but not really, because they do mix it up with fun things like Kazuya's Devil Gene, or just Heihachi's basic understanding of the Mishima arts. This gives Tekken like this mind game that you enjoy playing, where you're trying to outwit the opponent and keep him in the air as long as possible to extend your combos, which I find both very rewarding but also very punishing, because if your opponent knows what they're doing and they keep you up in the air, you're losing half your health and there's nothing you can do about it. There's no counters, no nothing if you're in the air. But if you're delivering those blows, it is so rewarding to carry your opponent all the way to the wall and even get a perfect sometimes out of it. And now I'm going to get into what's kind of keeping me from loving this game. For one, I'll start with the community. The Tekken community is probably one of the most toxic communities I've ever seen. And I'm not even saying this from personal experience necessarily, which I have experienced, but just like tournaments and other places I've seen, people are just downright nasty to each other over this game. Like, there's people who are just playing and having a good time, and other people saying, oh, you suck and don't know how to play. I don't like it at all. It's slowly driving me away from the game, which I know a lot of people are like, oh, just ignore that part. Which is hard especially when you play online or in tournaments. It's hard not to be exposed to that. Another thing I want to point out is the jank to the game. Like, there's sometimes, even in offline modes, where I'll do a hit, but it won't register, or there's kind of a lot of, and I'm just going to flat out say it, a lot of BS in these games, where you get hit and it's like an unblockable attack. Like, there's just so much to keep track of that it's overwhelming to an extent. And then there's also, like, technical issues with the game, especially online. Like, online never works. But, at first I thought it was just a me thing where it's my internet, but it's a server problem because I can play other online games just fine. But those are my only two, big complaints, and I don't want to complain anymore because I really do like this series. There's a lot more good to find in it than bad, for sure. Another thing I will say that I like about this game is the pacing of it. I like the pacing of the fights, where it's slower and you can kind of strategize a bit more. It's like a different take on a fighting game, where instead of being fast-paced 2D, you always got to be on your guard. You got to find that opening. You still have to find your openings, but there's more of like a strategy to it, where it's like, should I hit high or low or medium, or should I sidestep and smack him from the side? Like, there's a lot more steps to it that makes it way more intense, but also so much more fun and exciting. It's fascinating how Tekken pioneered the first 3D fighting game, where it added some spice to the fighting game formula, where it wasn't 2D anymore. There was a 3D plane and 3D character models. It was fascinating at the time, and it's funny how it's still going strong today. I mean, you had rival schools back then. I mean, Soul Calibur, obviously, but they haven't held on as long as Tekken has. I mean, Tekken just had a new game this year, which is crazy, while the others are kind of lost in history right now until they get a revival, hopefully. Even though I have some gripes with the Tekken series, I hope it keeps going. I hope it stays strong. I'll keep supporting it as long as possible. Even if I ever stop playing it because I get burnt out with it, I'll still watch like the Evo tournaments, competitive tournaments. I'll still support it because I think it's an ingenious game with stellar mechanics that you don't see anywhere else that really innovate on the fighting game formula. I mean, fighting games are a niche genre of video games as it is, where, I mean, it's got its community, it's got its fans, obviously. It's still going strong to this day. We've gotten 3 new big fighting games this year with Mortal Kombat 1, Tekken 8, and Street Fighter 6. But it's still that niche genre that not everybody plays. And Tekken's even more niche because it's the only 3D fighter around these days. So it's nice to see it going strong, and I just wish for the best. I hope it keeps going strong, and I hope it inspires other developers to make their own 3D fighters and bring those back. Yeah, it's very weird to me these days where we are seeing a lot more indie developers going and making their own fighting games, but a majority of them, if not all of them actually, are 2D fighters. We're not seeing any 3D fighters. And I don't know, I would just like to see that genre kind of explode again, and give us another Rival Schools, please, Capcom. That game was incredible. Or another Soul Calibur, Bandai. I mean, Tekken 8's great, but I miss Soul Calibur. Give us Soul Cal 7.